This is Sir John Gallagher's room, Dave. The one room you'll never enter until given leave.
Yes, Dad.
The law's been in the Gallagher family for generations. One of his forebears was Lord Chief Justice of England. Well, what do you think, Dave?
David.
Yeah, it's all right.
You don't want to be a barrister's clerk, David. You want to be a barrister.
Sir Patrick Hastings Clark had 2 sons at Harrow and arrived at Chambers in a chauffeur-driven limousine.
Well, why do you have to be called a clerk?
Just give me an E-type and 10 grand a year and I'll do whatever you want, Dad.
You may be my niece, Phyllis, but that gives you no right to opinions of your own.
I'm Harriet's pupil, not yours.
Miss Peterson to you.
How can I learn anything if I'm expected to keep my mouth shut all the time?
Come in and have some sherry.
Oh, thank you, Uncle.
Not you, Bradstreet. You're still on the lower deck, at least for another 6 months.
Finish that opinion for me, will you? The rights of light.
Done.
Put it on my desk and I'll look at it in a minute.
I still think your client should have got at least 5 years.
Have you any idea how long 3 years will seem?
Yes, 24 months with the third off for good conduct.
Whatever else, John, we don't have to worry about having a Porsche on our hands.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sir John wasn't expecting you so soon. Miss Peterson, you know my wife, but I don't think you've met my firstborn, Dave.
David.
Hello.
How do you do, David?
It's his birthday.
Oh, many happy returns.
I usually offer condolences, but I imagine you're still young enough to want to grow older.
17.
I wanted him to get the feel of the place.
I see.
And did you?
Yes, it's very nice.
You don't have to be polite.
It's stuffy.
David.
You acquire a built-in nose filter in time.
Not only the smell.
You're a perceptive young man. You sense the decadence.
Is the law still the preserve of the upper classes?
That's a dreadful thing to say, David. Whatever will Sir John think?
He's taken it as a compliment. The answer to your question is that judges come from all walks of life.
There, you see?
How about some birthday sherry, David? Guaranteed trodden by only working-class feet.
That's kind, Sir John, but we must be away. Miss Peterson?
When do you start, David?
Term ends in 3 weeks.
Yeah, the following Monday.
No holiday?
Well, that's what I said.
I want to get started.
A word of advice. Enjoy your last few days at school.
You know, life's the wrong way round. We should be born at the age of 70 with all that knowledge and experience so that we could indulge it as we grow younger. I hope you won't refuse my delectable sherry.
John, are you free this evening?
Is that an invitation?
Yes.
In that case, I am.
Good. We'll have our sherry elsewhere.
Yeah, it won't be a sec.
It's funny, without people, it's just another boring place.
What are you talking about? This is where your father works.
Yeah, I know, but when you put the people in, suddenly it's quite different.
Excuse me, can I go straight in?
Oh,
Bill?
Dr. Moody, Miss Peterson's left.
Oh, no.
About 10 minutes ago with Sir John. She left a note for you. Yes, there we are.
Thank you, Bill, thank you.
Is that thee, Dr. Moody?
Yes.
Well, I must say I'm surprised. Lady barrister and a doctor. He looks such a nice man.
Living in sin. Well, the Bible doesn't condemn copulation, merely adultery.
I won't have your blaspheming, David.
You know, I've seen slums before.
But always from a safe distance.
Of course. What am I doing here?
I said I'd buy you dinner.
In a place like this?
Shut up and order.
The car will be stolen. I hope you realize that.
It's difficult to fence Rolls-Royce Continentals. They're a trifle conspicuous.
It was different when you were in the army. I mean, I know you were a clerk in the RASC, but they called you Sergeant Major.
What are you on about, woman? I left the army 12 years ago.
Well, it may not be important to you. All your friends know what it means. But here, I mean, they're all the proper professional classes. Mr. Miles next door, bank manager. Next to him, Mr. Davies, company director. Mrs. Wallace's husband's a legal executive.
It's just another name for solicitor's clerk.
Another name, do you see? I mean, why would they do that if there was nothing wrong with being a clerk?
Come on. Ah, you great Burke, you got 2 left eyes?
You're not listening.
You know, I gave up hearing that argument years ago. I'm a clerk, barrister's clerk, counsel's clerk, head clerk, senior clerk, clerk in holy bloody orders, if you like, and I'm going to stay one, because that's what I like, and that's what I'm good at. And it earns me 150 quid a week, and it keeps you in £40 dresses and toffee nose bridge clubs.
Well, it's not good enough for my son. He deserves something better.
For Christ's sake, stop, can't you, just for an hour? On my birthday?
Birthday or no birthday, son. If I'd spoken to my mother like that when my father was around, there'd have been big trouble. Now, apologise.
I'm sorry, Mum. I'm sorry for what happened 17 years ago.
David! Where are you going?
Dave!
That was our fault, Shirley.
I know.
Truce?
I found this the other day.
What is it?
Mr. and Mrs. R.D. Bennett request the pleasure of your company, the marriage of their daughter Shirley to Sergeant Major William Raimondo Corletti.
They shouldn't have put Sergeant Major.
What happened to the man I married?
I'm still here.
You used to come calling at Dad's shop. Very correct. Calling him sir. I knew where I stood with you in those days.
Well, I hope you still do.
But I don't. My life's been turned upside down. That doesn't matter, but you've proved you can do anything you set your mind to. Why stop at being a barrister's clerk?
How can I explain? Most people punch a time clock, spend their lives mindlessly pulling levers, longing for 5 o'clock and a pension. Some, very few of us, wind up in a job that is absolutely right. Every moment an excitement or a satisfaction.
All right, but how do you know David will feel the same about your job?
I don't, but I want him to try it.
But why?
It's the best Chinese food in London. And knowing your weakness for things Oriental.
You're joshing me again, Harriet. That's naughty. Now, come along. What are we doing in this forlorn area?
I want your help.
Donation for some charity?
Oh, thank you, John. Yes, that as well.
That was an inquiry, not an offer.
Ian is concerned.
I might have known these bizarre surroundings would have something to do with the redoubtable doctor.
He's persuaded the Guardian Trust to sell their Bloomsbury headquarters and use the money to set up in this part of the world where their work is really needed.
I still don't see what this is to do with me.
They've bought 2 derelict houses round the corner from here, which they're turning into the new centre. A law centre.
Ah, your idea?
Mm-hmm.
Of course. You have my support and my best wishes.
I want more than that, John.
All right, Harriet, I give in. I will be the chairman of your new law centre.
I'm the chairman. I want you to be one of the volunteers, giving free legal advice.
Where have you been?
Nowhere.
Your mother was worried.
Look, Daddy, yesterday I kept the vote. I'm already old enough to go to war.
What happened to your clothes? Why have you been running?
Oh, I fell over trying to catch a bus.
You've got school in the morning. Better go to bed.
Okay, then.
Night, son.
Yes, well, surprisingly pleasant.
Hello.
I got to Chambers at 7:15. Sorry I was delayed.
We missed you.
Have you eaten?
Yes, I've had a sandwich. I've been sorting out a few things for the centre. Well, I'll see you home then.
I have to go back to Chambers to get my car for the morning. John will take me.
Of course.
No, I'll take you home.
Darling, you're driving back to Derbyshire tonight.
She'll be quite safe, Doctor.
What's going on?
We need John's help, advice. He's wealthy, too.
I thought finance was my department.
My dear Ian, when it comes to getting anything out of John Gallagher, I am in a class by myself.
That's what worries me.
Have no fear. It's only his brains and his money I'm after. Come along. I have a heavy day tomorrow. I'm appearing as a judge. John is defending one of the cases.
Is he? Give his client an extra 12 months from me.
What? I can't get... stop that noise, for God's sake. Say that again.
There's a policeman here. He says he's arresting Dave.
I saw both boys and both sets of parents before making the social inquiry report.
I didn't think the probation officers were allowed to recommend sentence.
Only in the last couple of years. In this case, I think probation is the right thing, so I said so.
Where's Sir John?
He's gone to Nottingham.
Already?
Well, the case is over. The boys were convicted. Uncle John made his usual impassioned plea for leniency, and the judge has gone away to cogitate about sentence over lunch.
Be upstanding.
I'll have to see Miss Peterson.
I'll put up the prisoners. You two strong, healthy young men, not yet 21 years of age, attacked an innocent pedestrian. You beat him with your fists and with a piece of metal. When he fell down, you kicked him. When he was unconscious, you robbed him. Mugging is the popular word for it. But the offense in law is robbery, the maximum punishment for which is life imprisonment. Your counsel, Sir John Gallagher, has urged me to take into consideration your employer's excellent references, the shame and concern of the respectable families to which you belong, and your previous good record. Your counsel has also asked me to treat this as an isolated prank which got out of hand. But ordinary people are entitled to walk the streets by day and by night, free from terror and violence, free from the threat of robbery. You and those like you must know that pranks such as these will be visited with sure and severe punishment, irrespective of the damage that punishment may inflict upon your careers and your futures. You will both go to prison for 3 years.
I wonder how their families will cope with that, and what problems they'll give society when they come out.
Bill, what's the problem?
My boy, Dave. He's in trouble with the police.
Oh, Bill, I'm sorry.
Can you get away for a moment?
Associate, one more case?
Yes, Your Honor. A plea of guilty.
Well, it shouldn't take too long.
I don't live far away. Could you come over to the house?
Of course.
Must be very confusing. Being a judge one minute and try and get him off the next.
Miss Peterson says it's like making war. 90% boredom, everyone else talking, and 10% terror when you're handing out the sentences.
3 years pokey is heat powerful medicine.
Give you a lift, Miss Rutherford?
It doesn't do my reputation any good to be seen with policemen.
I'm not proud, Sergeant Wilson. You can give me a lift. Where are you going?
To see one Major Hector Stannard, custodian of the public conscience and another victim of the muggers. But I'll drop you at the London train on my way.
Enter. Come in, Sergeant. Just trying to ensure the metacarpals don't seize up on me.
Feeling better, Major?
Well, I didn't sleep too well. They put a silly bandage round my ribs, but I'm fit enough.
We've got the other three.
Ah,
Do you feel like coming to the station for an ID parade, sir?
do we now?
Well, if you feel up to it, sir.
It's not a question of what I feel like, Sergeant. It's a question of duty. If it hadn't been for this business, I'd have been in court for your case today.
Oh, yes?
Yes, I follow these trials. You're doing a good job. These young thugs need a lesson. There's no discipline anymore, no national service. Children worshipped like gods by their parents.
It's only a minority that get into trouble, Major.
Yes, but we've got to be vigilant. Put down violence and permissiveness. It's the only way.
I wasn't there, I tell you. I don't care how many people identified me.
He doesn't go into pubs, do you, David?
Look, I don't smoke. No, not even pot. It makes me sick. But I like a drink.
David!
Bill, Mrs. Corletti, I'd like a word with David on my own.
Well, there's nothing he can't say in front of us.
Come on, Shirl.
Well, I'd like to know what she's going to say to me.
David, Major Stannard was beaten up by 4 young men. Money was stolen from his wallet. The publican, the barmaid, and 2 customers identified you as one of the 4. It only happened last night. Now, they can't all be wrong. Do you take me for a fool?
Oh, I need to think.
What about? Are you trying to protect someone? Are you frightened?
Yeah, I'm frightened, all right, but not the way you mean. I can't tell you the truth, can I?
What do you mean?
Well, I've heard Dad talking. If a person says he's guilty, you can't defend him, can you?
I won't help anyone tell lies. So if you did it, and you're trying to get off by saying you didn't, no, I won't help you to do that.
I beat him. I smashed him. I demolished him with words. And then my friends decided that words weren't enough. What he needed was a thumping. Would you believe that I tried to stop them? No, of course you wouldn't. Nobody's that good.
Mrs. Corletti.
Yes?
I'm Eileen Rutherford. I'm a probation officer.
Oh, yes.
Well, may I come in?
Well, I've got nothing to say to you. My David's innocent.
Oh, I always ask the boys if they have any objection to my seeing their parents. David has none.
I don't object. I've just got nothing to say to you. Why, we don't need your sort. Probation's for criminals.
Oh, I understand your reaction. It happens all the time. But it's cold out here, and I'm sure you don't want the neighbours to hear.
I had your letter. To a nice house like this, you know, it's an insult. By what right do you pry into other people's affairs?
Well, the court have instructed me to prepare a report.
Well, they can't have done. He hasn't had his trial yet.
Oh, well, my report is prepared before the trial. It saves time.
Oh, saving time is more important than people's privacy?
Yes, the courts can't wait until conviction before instructing us.
And when my David's acquitted, there'll be a permanent record of all your snooping. I think it's disgraceful.
Oh, no, the report will be torn up.
Oh, that's what you say. Well, you can see the house. The floors are swept, carpets are clean, there's a full larder. We're a clean living family. See for yourself.
I need to know about David.
There's nothing to know. He has adequate clothes, not too much pocket money. His hair's too long, but I can't do everything. His father won't back me up on that.
David is your son. This is where he belongs. They want family background.
Oh, all right. I like to do David's things by hand. It's not the same with the machine. Do sit down. So unfair. David's a good boy. He's lazy, but he's clever. At least he was before we came to live here. We had a council flat in Battersea. We moved here about 10 years ago. It's better for children, the country, and he did well to get into the grammar school, and they said he had a fine potential. But he's lazy. He thinks it'll all come to him without working. I keep telling him it's a hard life. You get nothing for nothing. He knows how hard his father worked to get where he is, and he's in Sir John Gallagher's chambers.
His senior clerk, yes, I know. Does David have any girlfriends?
No, of course not.
Why?
Well, he's too young.
At 17?
And he's at school.
Other friends?
Well, I suppose so, at school.
Doesn't he bring them home?
Oh, sometimes.
Does he have any hobbies?
Well, he used to be interested in electronics, but recently he seems to have given that up, too.
Well, what does he do with his time?
Well, he reads, he goes out.
Oh, yes, where?
To meet friends and
Oh,
things.
so he does have friends.
Yes.
Well, where do they go?
I don't ask him that.
Well, he's your son, Mrs. Corletti. You must know him better than anyone else.
They don't talk to you at this age. They resent their home. They don't want to be corrected. They just want to lie in bed all day doing nothing. I think tomorrow never come. They just don't realise how hard they've got to work to make anything of themselves. Would you like a cup of tea?
No, I shouldn't represent you in a case like this.
But, Sir John, you're the obvious choice.
He knows you too well. In your own interest, Bill, get somebody else.
Why?
Defending people is a science. You need a detached, impartial mind.
I want someone who knows me and my family.
Believe me, we're telling you what's best for David.
I don't want some outsider I've never seen before. I want the person I know is the best.
William, even if we agreed that someone in Chambers should do it, it couldn't be me.
Why not?
David mustn't be defended by a leader, a silk. It looks as though you're trying to buy your way out of trouble.
You defended two boys on the same charge the other day.
With more money than sense, and look what happened to them.
Miss Peterson, will you defend my son?
What do you think, John?
It's up to you. You don't normally let personal relations affect your judgment.
Suppose we find out what David thinks.
Good. Then I'll leave you alone. Please carry on in here.
Sir John, I would welcome your advice.
It gets confusing if too many dogs bark. Besides, I have to go down to the probate registry. The head of Clan Gallagher has just died.
I'm sorry, John. I didn't know.
Thank you, but everyone's delighted. He was an out-and-out villain, politician. He left rather a lot of money.
Sit down, Bill.
You don't really mean that.
She's a dragon, David. Don't let her consume you with her fire.
What makes you want to be a barrister's clerk?
Oh, my father says I'll earn a knee type and 10 grand a year. You can't get that on a building site.
Is money the only reason?
Until I find a better one.
Being a barrister's more interesting than being a clerk.
Oh, sound like my mum.
You don't look like a mugger.
Labels. I hate labels.
What were you doing with people like that?
There you go again, people like that. Have you ever been in a pub? Well, I was buying a drink, and so were they. And suddenly the Major starts having a go at all of us.
But you knew them, the others.
I'd seen them around.
Where?
It's no big deal. You know what parents are like. They rabbit on a bit. When I get fed up, I go for a walk, a drink.
Well, where do you go?
Well, pubs, cafes, coffee bars, anywhere. See all the locals, the bother boys, the skinheads, the Majors. They're people. I like people.
Do you know Stannard?
No, I've seen him around. He's a creep. Why am I telling you all this?
I'm a pupil here. I shall be helping on your case. That means I shall be your governor when you come to work here.
Yes, miss.
But don't you want to come and work here?
No, why not?
You could show a bit more enthusiasm.
Yeah, I could if I knew what the job was all about and whether I was going to like it.
But don't you care whether you get the job or not?
I'm trying very hard not to. Unless this case comes out right, I won't be working for anyone, will I?
Dave, come in, will you?
Sit down, David. We didn't mean to exclude you, but your father and I had some private wrangling to do first. Now, if it's all right with you, I'm going to defend you.
Dave will leave that decision to me.
David?
Fine, you know.
Right.
Oh, after you.
Thank you.
I expect you're looking for the clerk. He lives in here. Oh.
Can I help you, miss?
I have an appointment with Mr. Corletti.
I'm not sure where he is at the moment.
Oh, won't be a moment, Ian. David? Yeah. Your father will arrange for you to see Mr. Jordan. He's a good solicitor. I want you to make a full statement to him. All right?
Thank you, Miss Peters.
Hello, Dave.
Oh, Miss Rutherford. Dad, this is Miss Rutherford.
Oh, you're a bit early for our appointment, miss. Can you give me half an hour?
Yes. I'm sorry, but Bill's made a bit of a nonsense. There's a case at St. Albans at 2 o'clock and only me to do it.
I can't think why anyone bothers to make appointments in your racket.
It's almost as bad as being a doctor.
Our heart attacks don't happen quite so often.
I should be back by 6.
Say 2 o'clock then. Hmm?
Right.
Come on, Dave. I'll ring Jordan for you.
I'm Ian Moody.
Oh, I'm Eileen Rutherford.
How do you do? I'm just going for a beer and sandwich. How about joining me?
Why not? Well, not the East End. There are more social workers there than there are criminals.
What did you say, your job was?
In fact, it's become the in place for do-gooders.
You mean there's nobody left in need of help?
Oh, I didn't say that.
You're an odd sort of probation officer.
You're getting me confused with the old-fashioned sort. The ones that are in love with their charges.
Are you saying that's me?
When someone gets into trouble in the East End, there's a queue of affluent charities waiting to hand out mummy-kissed betters. There's a saying down there. I've had a bit of luck. You know what it means? It means they've conned some charity into believing they haven't got the price of the gas bill so that they can go to the bingo.
Well, I don't think it's sour grapes. Maybe you couldn't get a better job.
When I left Cambridge, I went into international chemicals. 5 years ago, I was section head in advertising. I gave it all up for job satisfaction.
Sounds to me like your revenge on society, working off your Freudian hang-ups.
Oh, I don't lack compassion, but I don't do overtime. My job is not a bleeding hearts club.
Why are you so bitter?
I'm not. I like my clients.
Lovable rogues.
I find them likable people with problems. I recognize that fact and deal with them accordingly. They're not angels with broken wings.
Well, what do you do with a boy like Dave?
I really want to do some good. Build your centre in the stockbroker belt. I've worked in slums all over London. Well, some of the problems are insoluble, but if you want to see real emotional rejection, try the middle classes.
I repeat, what do you do with middle class Dave?
I really can't talk about that. Our job really is confidential.
All right, then, any middle class boy in trouble.
Well, you usually try and straighten out their parents.
Ah, at last, a conventional attitude. It's all the fault of the parents. Suppose the boy's innocent.
Well, that's just a technicality. Boys who commit offences do so because they have problems.
How exactly do you straighten out parents?
You try and tell them that money doesn't guarantee emotional security, but most of them don't believe that.
So what happens?
Well, if the boy's a first offender, I recommend probation. But if the offence is more serious...
Like Dave's?
No comment. He goes to jail anyway. And if he's found not guilty, the probation officer is surplus to requirements.
So you do nothing?
I could always put in a couple of hours overtime, pointing out some of the better class con men you'll meet in your new centre.
Norman Adams, Frederick John Bennett, Arthur Edwin Carter, David Leonard Corletti. There is one count in the indictment against you. It charges robbery, contrary to Section 8 of the Theft Act,
Whoever
1968.
put Dave in those terrible clothes?
The particulars
Margaret.
are that you, on the
He says he's
10th day of
different from the
January
others. Let him look it.
1973, in the county of Surrey, robbed Hector James Stannard of £2.
What makes you describe David Corletti as the leader of the group?
I've seen them before. He's typical.
We're not interested in your general opinion of the young Major Stannard, but in the particulars of one incident.
He was the spokesman.
The spokesman for what?
For all of them. Defending their behavior, their dirty hair, permissiveness, drugs.
But you weren't even in the same bar. You were in the lounge, they were in the saloon. How did David become the spokesman, as you call it?
He shouted across the partition.
Why?
Because he's a rude lout.
Isn't it true that you were deliberately provoking David and the others?
You don't have to provoke people like that.
Were you or were you not?
No.
Major Stannard, the publican, the barmaid, and 2 of the customers will be giving evidence today. I shall be asking them the same question.
And you'll get the same answer. I did nothing to provoke an assault.
Did you not say in a very loud voice, the young today have no respect for authority?
Probably.
There should be more discipline. We should bring back the birch and the cat.
It's true.
Did you say it?
I expect so.
What they need is 2 years in the army and a bloody good war.
I don't advocate war.
Did you say something like that?
I believe war focuses the attention of the young on things that really matter. Queen and country, one's fellow men.
You believe fervently in these things?
I do indeed.
In expressing these sentiments, you sometimes get heated, carried away, perhaps.
I always keep control.
I am trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, Major, that you may have unwittingly provoked these boys.
No.
Then I must put it to you that you did so deliberately.
Well, what if he did? Provocation in law is a defence only to murder, not robbery.
Indeed, my lord.
Well, then why are you wasting all this time?
The sequence of events is vital to an understanding of what happened later.
Is it?
Yes, my lord, it is. Major Stannard, you noticed these boys as soon as you entered the pub.
One couldn't help it.
You got up to the typical trick of the bully, speaking in a loud voice so that the other customers would hear what you were saying, and snigger at the object of your derision, the boys in the adjoining bar.
I can't help it if I express the views of the majority of law-abiding citizens.
Thank you, Major. At least we're getting somewhere.
Are we?
I am not a bully.
The mistake David Corletti made was to rise to the bait.
There are the bullies.
He took your arguments one by one and demolished them.
He tried to pick a fight with me, yes.
A verbal fight.
He was the spokesman for the gang.
He is the most intelligent and literate of the four. He naturally assumed the debating role.
And he had the biggest boots.
Very well, Major. Let us now turn to what happened outside the pub. The landlord called time and began closing the bar. You all left, although by separate exits, at the same time?
No, they went ahead and lay in wait.
When you got outside, you lost your temper because you'd lost the argument and began abusing the boys.
I don't abuse people like that.
Nevertheless, you did.
Never.
One of the boys struck you.
That is true?
Adams, not Corletti.
Does it matter which struck the first blow?
Not unless it was you, Major Stannard.
That blow was struck as a result of your using words like layabouts, yobbos.
What words would you use to describe a cowardly attack by 4 men on one person?
I'm referring to the words that led to blows being struck.
No.
After the first blow, were you in any position to tell who was doing what?
Of course I was.
But you'd been knocked to the ground, semi-conscious.
By those 4 boys, with Corletti the ringleader. Yes, he was inside.
I put it to you that you were in no position to tell whether you were being attacked by 4 boys or by 3.
All 4.
What you thought were 4 boys attacking were 3 boys attacking and 1 boy, David Corletti, trying to pull the others off.
Why can't he stand up and take his medicine like a man?
This isn't a schoolboy test of honor. You have accused David Corletti of robbery with violence. His defense is that he didn't do it, that he was trying to rescue you.
He's lying to escape the consequences. What about the robbery? Why didn't he try to stop that?
Were you conscious when the money was taken from your wallet?
Not really.
Then you would not have been aware that David tried to prevent that as well, and that he only gave up the attempt and ran away when he, too, was threatened by the others.
Well, why didn't he go for help? The publican, the police.
Why, indeed. But then I don't suppose you'd understand words like panic, fear, loss of control.
Yes, fine. Thank you.
Do you find the prisoner, Norman Adams, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Do you find Frederick John Bennett guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Do you find Arthur Edwin Carter guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Do you find David Leonard Corletti guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And are these the verdicts of you all?
They are.
Suffice it to say, members of the jury, that I agree with all your verdicts. Your duties are now at an end. May I thank you on behalf of the county for your time and care. I'll hear the mitigation after luncheon.
The upstanding.
The sergeant will give the boys backgrounds and antecedents, and then Miss Rutherford will say her piece.
I shall strongly recommend probation, Mrs. Corletti.
They won't send him to jail. Not my David, will they?
I would not submit, my lord, that this is the sort of offence that can be dealt with leniently. But it is not a typical mugging.
Isn't it?
No, my lord. This isn't a case where men robbed or did violence for kicks. To some extent, what happened was the logical conclusion to a situation Major Stannard created. It would be more accurate to describe it as a fight.
Your client stands convicted of robbery.
Even so, my lord, there are degrees of involvement.
What do you say to the point that your client is said to be the ringleader?
The jury returned a verdict of guilty. But that doesn't mean they accepted every word of Major Stannard's evidence. The publican, for instance, made it plain that the boys could have felt they were being provoked by Major Stannard's remarks. You heard David Corletti give evidence?
You're not trying to tell me that he's innocent, Miss Peterson.
No, my lord, the jury's verdict prevents me putting that forward. But it is still open to your lordship to believe that even if my client had a hand in the assault...
And the robbery?
Yes, my lord. That his part in it was mainly as he described. That once the fight began, he tried to prevent the others. That he merely acquiesced in the theft of the money. My lord, you heard the probation officer say that she considers only harm could come to this boy from a sentence of imprisonment. From close association at an impressionable age with hardened criminals. His career would be ruined by it. David bitterly regrets going to the pub that night.
I'm sure he does.
But I do entreat your lordship to believe that it will never happen again, and not to pass a sentence that will ruin David's life.
Stand up.
3 of you have been in trouble before. Nothing as serious as this, and not recently. You, Corletti, are described as being good character, but I accept Major Stannard's evidence that you were the ringleader. You will all go to prison for 3 years.
All stand.
How is she?
It's just a faint.
Bill, I'll go and see David, and I'll fix it for you to see him.
Well, congratulations, Sergeant. A magnificent result. A generous punishment.
Is it?
Thought the judge was a bit hard on the Corletti boy, though.
Why?
Well, different background. He did try and stop the other yobbos a bit, you know.
Oh, yes.
Of course, I couldn't say so in there. Slightest doubt, and they'd all have got away with it.
Major, I suggest you keep very quiet about that opinion, or you may be in trouble yourself.
That was a hanging judge that sentenced my Dave.
Well, 3 years is about right.
I can't just sit here and take that.
There's appeal against sentence.
Can't you get it into your heads? We're not talking about some greasy old leg, some footling legal technicality. This is my son.
William, you must accept the situation.
Accept? What's accept? My son didn't do it. He didn't do it.
You can't know that.
He's my flesh. I saw him leave his mother's body. I've known him for 17 years.
We all think are young and capable of something bad.
I don't. He's a big lad. He could kill somebody, but he could never make me believe a lie.
The summing up was harsh, but justified by the facts. Ample evidence for the jury to convict. There's no loophole.
You know me. I'm your clerk. Do I tell you lies?
Bill, this won't help.
Do you believe me when I tell you that my son is innocent?
I believe you are convinced.
Do you believe me?
I won't be cross-examined by you.
Do you?
Get hold of yourself, man. You're on a trial to have tantrums. A jury, 12 ordinary people, were convinced of David's guilt after a fair trial and a good defense. Now, you must come to terms with that.
Bill, your son may be the victim of injustice. I don't know for certain. Only one person knows that, David himself. But on the evidence, he was properly convicted.
I won't apologize. It's wrong. Evil. And somebody's got to put it right.
William?
I'm going to take 3 days' leave. If you won't do anything about it, I will.
Don't interfere with things you don't understand.
Oh, Mr. Corletti, I want you to know that I shall keep in touch with Dave, and with you if you want me to.
You could have saved yourself the bus fare.
Miss Rutherford.
Oh, Miss Peterson, I thought you defended Dave brilliantly.
Not very successfully.
Well, some losers are just in the cards. I hope your law centre does what you want it to.
Thank you. You must come and join our Bleeding Hearts Club, Eileen. Cold showers for old age pensioners, a speciality.
Eileen? What's this? Ah. It's lovely. Thank you. But why?
When the chairman of the management committee opens London's newest law centre, she must be suitably rewarded.
And suitably represented. On this unique occasion, your head of chambers will be your chauffeur.
Yes? My name's Corletti. You know who I am?
You are a barrister's clerk who has no business being here.
And you know why I've come.
I've no idea.
The lawyers think you've sewn this up tight, but they're wrong. You were telling lies.
When I report this visit to your chambers, you'll be out on your neck. You must be desperate.
I've spent the last 3 days on you, Major. Mugging up on one Hector James Stannard, late of the Royal Pioneer Corps. I was in the army and I made some friends. I went to see them. They told me some interesting facts about you. How you were seconded to a boy soldier regiment. How you were accused of touching up 2 of your boys.
Lies.
Maybe.
I was too good a disciplinarian. So they trumped up charges to get rid of me.
And succeeded.
I was never court-martialed.
No, just an adverse report that followed you everywhere you went. What did it say? This officer conducted himself unsatisfactorily during an inquiry into an indecent assault. While it was uncertain whether the boys were telling the truth, it was clear that Major Stannard was telling lies on certain points and had an unhealthy attitude to the boys in his charge. He is unsuitable to train young soldiers.
That was the work of an overindulgent blimp who had no more idea of discipline than a lemming.
You admit it, then?
I shall call at the Ministry of Defence tomorrow. Make sure whoever gave you that report gets a court-martial.
You can try.
You didn't come here to tell me what I already know.
If the jury had known the sort of man you are, they'd never have taken your word against my son's.
What do you want?
A signed statement that my boy was telling the truth.
You must be mad.
There's a hard way and an easy way. The easy way, you sign a statement that you were mistaken. You've thought it over, you could have been wrong, dark night, understandable mistake.
What is the hard way? The Sunday papers, a scandal? They'd never print it.
This isn't blackmail, Stannard. Either way, it's due process of law, the Court of Appeal. But you make me do it the noisy way, and you'll wind up in jail for perjury.
If you believed that, you wouldn't be here talking about it.
You're a fool, Stannard. I'm not interested in what happens to you. Have it your way.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to you, Madam Chairman, for opening the law centre the other day. It's only the beginning.
I'll never get John there.
Good.
Since his cousin died, he's become head of the clan. New responsibilities.
Will he retire? I could always give him a certificate saying early retirement is recommended on medical grounds.
A problem that takes an enthusiastic youngster weeks, John can solve in minutes.
Give me enthusiasm every time.
And what about the client during those weeks? The unnecessary worry and uncertainty?
I'd rather spend a little time with somebody who cares.
Was that remark meant for me?
You've been missing recently.
You had Eileen Rutherford to keep you
Don't
company.
change the subject.
I wasn't aware that I had.
You're not the jealous type.
All women are.
I'm not talking about what you had to do, but the way you did it.
What are you on about?
The cancel appointments, the missed dates. Suddenly you're somewhere else.
It's the job, the system.
Well, I understand about sudden emergencies. What I don't understand is why you can't find time in your mind for me.
You're imagining things.
Have you heard of a telephone? Except to ring Chambers or that gargoyle Gallagher. Why should I make all the calls?
I know. I'm sorry. Bill's so preoccupied. Things have been pretty chaotic.
What you need is a break. Come away.
What?
Just for a few days.
I couldn't. You couldn't.
Oh, yes, I could. I fixed 3 days off. I thought Lisbon.
Just like that? I couldn't do it.
Why not? You're not in court. I checked.
I'd have to be back by Friday.
I know that, too.
That lot took me until 4 o'clock this morning. Get them typed, will you?
Miss
Phyllis,
Peterson.
give me 3 sheets of plain foolscap.
I've got to talk to you.
You're going to check those opinions when they come out of typing for 100% accuracy, and God help you if anything's fouled up, because I'm signing them already.
Detective Sergeant Wilson is here to see you, Miss Peterson.
What about?
I sent for him.
You can't send for policemen.
I have new evidence.
I'm sorry, Bill, but I have to be at the airport in 45 minutes. Get me a taxi, will you, in a hurry?
Miss Peterson, this is urgent.
So is my flight. I'll be back on Friday. You can wait until then.
Time for notice of appeal runs out on Thursday.
Miss Bradstreet can do it.
It's too complicated for her.
Thank you. Sir John, then. He's had some experience.
He wasn't there.
Bill, I am not going to miss my plane. Phyllis, ring for a taxi. Mr. Jordan was at the trial. Now, he and Sir John can settle a simple notice of appeal.
Jordan's in Ireland.
I have got to get to the airport.
And Dave has got to get out of prison. Stannard was lying, and I can prove it now.
Forget the taxi. Ring Terminal 1, London Airport, Lisbon check-in. Leave a message for Dr. Moody that I've been delayed, but I'll be there for the next flight, whatever happens. Now, you made me miss my plane for a load of 7-year-old gossip.
If the jury had known this about Stannard, they'd never have believed him.
Known what?
That he's queer and mucks about with young men.
What you have is information obtained in circumstances amounting to an offence against the Official Secrets Act, if not conspiracy, that Major Stannard is unsuitable to train boy soldiers. Now, what possible relevance can that have to his being beaten up and robbed?
But you could have cross-examined him about it.
The judge would never have allowed
There
it.
would have been a doubt.
There would have been no doubt in the mind of a jury of anybody who tried to use that kind of desperation smear. Whatever possessed you to go and see Stannard? You'll be lucky only to be reported to the Barristers' Clerks Association.
If that's the price I have to pay to get justice for Dave, then I will.
I shall deal with that matter. Now, one thing at a time. What is Sergeant Wilson doing here?
Well, I thought that if the police knew this about Stannard, they'd help me. Well, you know, with evidence against him.
I'm sorry, Sergeant. We seem to have wasted a great deal of your time.
Sergeant, not everything goes into the book when you're preparing a case. Now you've heard this about Stannard, does anything spring to mind that might throw a different light?
I'm on the prosecution side, Sir John. It's my job to put him away.
You've got a son, Sergeant. Now, whatever you may think, he's no more immune to trouble than I thought Dave was. How would you feel if he was slopping out the overnight bucket for something he didn't do?
There was something. When the case was over, as we were leaving court, Stannard said something like, couldn't do anything to give the jury a doubt, but Dave... No, he didn't say Dave. Did help a bit, or try to stop the others a bit. Something like that.
Thank God. But didn't you hear what he said?
Yes, we heard, but it's complicated. It means getting the Court of Appeal to hear new evidence.
Well, of course they'll hear.
I think it's enough, John. Bill, ring your wife and tell her that David will be appealing against his conviction.
Can we get him out on bail, pending the appeal?
I'll look after that, and you get off to your aeroplane, Harriet. I'll settle the grounds of appeal.
I'd like a statement, Sergeant.
From Stannard?
Signed by you as to exactly what Stannard said.
You're a bit thorough, Miss Peterson.
My name is Peterson. Is there a message for me?
I don't think so.
From a Dr. Moody?
No, afraid not.
I was booked on the 11:15 flight to Lisbon. We both were. Can you find out if he checked in?
Yes, I think. Control room, could you tell me, please, if there was a Dr. Moody checked in on flight BE262 to Lisbon? Thank you. No, he wasn't on the flight.
You sure there's no message?
Just check, but I don't think... Miss Peterson, did you say?
Yes.
Sorry. Just come on duty.